Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Paradigm Leadership Network. I am Kelly Geisler Wilson, your host, and today's topic is all about if you are thinking about building a website, the 7 things you should know before you do it. And I am bringing a special guest on. So, Caitline, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you. First, before we get started, would you please just introduce yourself? Let us know what you do, who you are, and who you serve.
So my name is Caitline Harrison. I run Caitline Harrison Creative. I kept it nice and simple. I'm a graphic designer turned web developer, so a little bit of the best of both worlds. So I mostly serve service providers, entrepreneurs, people either getting started or revamping after being in business for a couple of years with their branding, graphics, and website builds.
Love it. Love it. And in case you don't know me, I'm Kelly Geisler Wilson, the founder of the Butterfly Guide. So I did not keep it simple, but it does have a lot of meaning. And I help heart-based entrepreneurs really scale, build, launch, and scale heart-centered businesses. And I help them leverage technology. I help them leverage business strategy and mindset. And most importantly, I help them do it in a very heart-centered and energy-aligned way. So really bringing the authentic version of you through your business so that you can serve your clients. And fun fact about me, which kind of led to this conversation with Caitline, is I spent 25 years in corporate IT. I've done IT. I've built websites. I built my own website. I've done websites for clients as well. And so Caitline and I, it was kind of like, I hope you don't mind me saying this, like two women geeking out,
Total geeking out. Totally.
So I wanted to bring her on because we wanted to support you if you're thinking about building a website. And really the first question, and this is a very controversial question, is when is the right time to build a website? There is a variety of answers. So Caitline, what's your answer?
My answer is right away. I think that if you have a nugget of an idea, go buy the domain. You can use like namecheap.com, get it for $10, lock it in. If you never use it, it's $10. And then, get a website up and running. It can be a simple one pager that just has your basic info, but your legitimacy will skyrocket because it's up to 85 or 90% of people Google a business before they trust working with them. So it just helps you consider it your real estate. Basically, if you had a storefront on Main Street, you need to have a website.
Yeah. Or that flag that's on the moon that says, I've been here. I am here. I am legit. So I want to offer two things. I also agree with that. And for me, because there's a lot of advice out there that says, don't waste your time. It's not a value add. You should be making money. Focus on that. And for me, I had the tech skills. So I knew that, it wasn't a stretch for me. It really, really helped me figure out what I did and to put it into words that would speak to my ideal client. And I also want to offer, because you hit the nail on the head, I have a lot of friends that are entrepreneurs, and I was supporting one not too long ago. She was 9 months into her business, and she was receiving the advice the whole entire time. Don't focus on that. That's not going to add value. And what was going on internally with her, she's like, I just don't feel legitimate. I don't feel like I can stand and say I'm a coach without it. And so I'm going to invite everyone that's listening, listen to yourself too. I do agree, like sooner rather than later, and listen to yourself. If someone's telling you, don't worry about it, but you need that to figure out your language, to figure out who you serve, to feel more legitimate, then do it. Definitely do it. There's easy ways to do it, and there's more complicated ways. And we're going to talk about that as well. So Caitline, I know you have 3 tips to offer to what goes into building a good website.
I have 3 tips. And when we talk at the end, I also have expanded out to 10 total that you can grab from me. But first is a clear call to action, especially if you are just starting out, and it's the, what do you want them to do? Aside from get your name and what you do you want them to book a call? Are they downloading a book? Are they buying something from you? That clear call to action, and you have to repeat it a bunch of times. You can't just assume that if it's in one button, people are going to know what that is. You're going to put it a couple of times. It's going to feel redundant, but you don't know how the other person on the other side is viewing your website. The clear brand, I'm a brand geek. I'm a designer who wants everything to look beautiful. So, and the clear brand is simple. Keep your logo simple. You can get more ornate, absolutely. But if you want to just get started, simple brand, pick a color palette of 3 to 5. No, 3 is great. I tend to do 3. And then just keep it all simple, write like you talk, keep it simple. Just really again, follow your heart and your instincts, and you're going to get farther than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. What I love, what you first said about the call to action is to remember it's not about you. It's about your client journey. Your client's going to land on your doorstep. They're about to potentially open the door into your house. So where do you want them to go? Do you want them to go in the kitchen? Do you want them to find you? Or do you want them to go in the basement first and go look at all your junk and then go upstairs to say, oh, nice to meet you?
Right. Because you could have like 10, you could have 20 blog posts that really help explain all of your thoughts, your emotions, everything. But 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be your call to action. And so if you spend your homepage kind of talking about that, right, you're convoluting the message. And, most service providers and entrepreneurs, the call to action is to book a call. Most of the time, or fill out a contact form or apply for a call, that kind of thing, start an application funnel. That's really, start there, and then you can always add. And that's what's great about, I worked in print originally in the beginning of my career. What's great about websites is you can change it. If you write a sentence and hate it 3 days from now, go change it.
Yes. As you grow and evolve and understand who you are as a business owner, your website can grow and evolve with you. And I love the simplicity. So again, as a business coach, these things are great, but they're not designed to take up hours and hours and hours of your time, especially, so we always had a concept, minimal viable product. What was good enough? That could do the job, that puts that flag on the moon that says, I am here, that explains what I do, and then move on. And then really look at the prioritization down the road. And we're going to talk about ways to expand down the road in a second. So let's get into that a little bit. So of course, the second question everyone asks is, should I do it myself or should I hire someone to do it? So let's answer that question first. What's the benefits of DIY and what's the benefits of hiring?
The benefits of DIY obviously is the cost, and it really is a sliding scale, because it's going to also depend on your tech capabilities. I've had multiple clients who kind of fell into the trap of the advertisements that tell you, our page builder, drag and drop, you'll have a website in, an hour, and they end up spending 20, 30, 40 hours of their time. Well, what are you charging for an hourly rate?
Right.
To your client? So it is a little bit of that shift, but I think the DIY platforms are great. Even I work on WordPress exclusively, and anyone can build one. And it's a matter of just how much time and knowledge and investment do you want to put into it.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a great place for DIY. And then, hiring also just gets it off of your plate. If you are really trying to dig in terms of time versus money, and just not having to learn a whole new skill to get this website up, then hire. And also benefit of hiring maybe a little bit later down the road, once you've got your minimal viable product up and running, you've got some clients, you're feeling more confident, and you have a little bit more time and money to invest, then that's also when you could hire. So again, most of my clients usually have had something started before they get to me. And I like to try and undo and redo and refocus what it is, but get it started.
Yeah. And so you mentioned WordPress. We're going to get into that in a second. She loves WordPress, as she does it exclusively. I love Kajabi. I have offered done for you services with Kajabi, and I'm actually moving away from that now. So I'm talking, just because my focus is more on the business coaching and empowering the business strategy and the business leader. What I would offer too is know your superpowers and know what you're not good at. The 2 people that I've supported in building their websites, they just knew they're not tech, and they looked at it and they're like, yeah, no. And my goal supporting them was not only creating it, but empowering them. So great, giving them a lot of tutorials on how to do it themselves, because I also don't want them to be dependent on me. And that's just a selfish, like that's selfish. I don't want to be never ending to supporting them, but, empowering them, because changing that word, changing that sentence, creating a new offer, all of that, you want to be nimble when it comes to your website, I think in the future, to change things and to offer things. And I have a new program. I want to go create out a landing page for that or whatnot. So let's talk about now, Caitline and I are going to get a little controversial for a second. We're just going to share our expert opinion, our informed opinion on it. Let's talk about Wix for a second. And this is not meant to do anything to throw anyone under the bus, but it is to just share our view of Wix. So as two people that have an IT background, that do websites, what's your view of Wix?
Oh.
I love it. Just don't even use a word.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like, they've cornered a market very similarly to GoDaddy, which GoDaddy has some benefits in terms of its domains, some of its hosting, but they also are similar to Wix, where they both companies are really trying to push that DIY, that it's super easy. As far as I've looked at the prices, it's not that much cheaper than trying a Squarespace, which is a great alternative if you don't want something as complex as a WordPress or a Kajabi. And so I just think that Wix, it's clunkier, it's more everything just seems harder to use. And I mean, as far as I can tell, the SEO is not a thing. There's a lot, you can't really expand upon what it is. So again, if you are a one-page website, maybe I think that you could get started with a one-page WordPress or even a Squarespace and just have the better quality. Quality, it's just so much better.
So I'm glad you said Squarespace. My first year, I stood up Squarespace and I loved it. And it just, for me, Kajabi met all of my needs. So after a year, I took all my splattered platforms into one platform, and that's really it. What I would share about Wix though first is what I will say gently too, is that you can, every Wix site I have seen looks like a DIY. And even if you're doing it yourself, it doesn't need to look like it. Right? And Squarespace, and I'll take your word for it, WordPress, it's been like probably 15 years since I've been in WordPress, and WordPress was more complicated 15 years ago.
It is the more complicated, but there also are ways and page builders and stuff that all sound like dirty words, but they are not dirty words.
I love it.
You don't have to hard code a website anymore. We just don't live in the 90s, and it's like I feel if you hear it online that if you don't know how to fully hard code a website, you can't call yourself a web developer. And I do not agree, because why do it when there's so much tech that's already done for you? Yeah.
So I have a degree in computer programming.
Sorry.
I have built applications. No. I have built applications. My husband's a designer and he's like, well, let's code this. I'm like, I just strongly believe you can stand up a website without any code. Like no one should need to code a website. And I have that background and I'm like, no.
Yeah. It's 2022, you don't need to hard code. Having the CSS, the HTML, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely, you need that. But there are so many products now that get you so far that once you get a developer or a designer or someone who's both, you can get over that finish line so much easier.
Yeah, that's awesome. So why don't you share about WordPress for a second for us? Because I don't know if there's myths or, like the myths that you could bust or anything that could help a person if they're thinking about WordPress, advantages, disadvantages. What can you share with us about that?
There is a bit of a learning curve with, the dashboard and all that, but it's almost like the sky's the limit, and that can be good or bad. Again, why there are professionals. You can end up with a million extra plugins that you don't need, or you can span it out. You can do courses, you can do landing pages, you can have shops. There is a whole e-commerce store that is WordPress's like answer to Shopify. You can grow. You can have a tiny one, you can have a huge one. It's like the sky's the limit, and it's so customizable. I think we're up to like 40% of 35 to 40% of websites on the internet are built with WordPress. And now with the evolution of page builders, and WordPress itself is changing, and they're in the process of launching a full like site editor, which would be their answer to all the page builders that have come out on their platform. And so it's getting more flexible and nimble with every advance, every minute, basically.
Very cool. And so if someone's okay, so I want to highlight one thing, because you said that one of the reasons why I know people go to WordPress is that you can have courses and you can have unlimited courses and you're not controlled by courses. So I will speak to that when I speak about Kajabi a little bit. And I do think that's one of the advantages there. And it comes with its own set of disadvantages because you have to be the administrator then of those or delegate that administration. So if someone was curious to learn more about WordPress, A, contact Caitline. B, what would be another option for them to just figure out a little bit more about WordPress?
I mean, we are in a world right now where you can find anything on YouTube. There's also a great blog. I think it is just like wpbeginner.com.
Okay.
And that they break everything down. I end up on there anytime I have a question. I mean, I don't know everything. I go and I do the research and I find it out for my clients. Like it's there's so much resources out there, but yeah, YouTube, I mean, you can get a whole degree on YouTube.
Right? Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of share just a little bit about my Kajabi journey. So again, first of all, Kajabi is a higher entry price and it's not for everyone. So if you're starting out, you're looking at it like, oh, and so what I did the same thing. I purchased Squarespace. I purchased, I think, ConvertKit. I purchased what else? And then I'm the type of person that I love the structure of delivering my online courses. And when I was looking at the competitors of Thinkific and Teachable, then I looked at like Kajabi was the Cadillac. It was hands down the Cadillac. And then my deciding factor was for my course platform was every other program I have purchased was on Kajabi. So I was a end user of Kajabi. I'm like, done. If I can buy quality and stand for quality in my business and my brand, I'm doing that. So that was that. But I spent a whole year because of course I purchased Squarespace for a whole year. So at that time, I then transferred all my other systems into Kajabi because it really is known as the all-in-one platform. And when you looked at the separate versus the all-in-one, I think it was like a $20 difference a month. And I didn't have to worry about where do I have to go to tweak that thing. I just always open up Kajabi. Everything for me comes through Kajabi. My website, my emails, my sales, my offers, my programs, my coaching programs, my online courses, all that stuff is done through Kajabi. And it too, like I consider it pretty easy, but it has its own language. It more like has a dialect. So once you figure out its dialect, then, and it's that dialect is used in the email marketing, in the website, in the coaching. But once you figure that out, you're golden, and so, yes, a little bit of a learning curve. So if I would say the same thing, if you're interested in Kajabi, reach out to me. I'm happy to have a conversation. You're going to hear the same thing. I'm a lover and definitely can get you started. And I don't know, I'm curious because Kajabi offers, I'm an affiliate of Kajabi. It offers through my affiliate a 30-day free trial. Is there any type of free trial with WordPress? Like, how does that work?
So WordPress is a open platform, I think open source.
Yeah.
And so it is free. Basically, you need a web host. I am an affiliate with SiteGround. I love SiteGround. It is a little bit pricier than some of the cheaper ones like HostGator and all that stuff, but you're going to get what you pay for. The customer service is incredible. The sites rarely go down. And if they do, it's always a scheduled maintenance thing. And it's like a couple minutes and you've been warned.
Right.
And so if you have a good host, and with SiteGround in particular, and there's a bunch of them, there's a bunch that are also they are WordPress hosts. They can install it right for you. So you could just get it all set up in one click on your hosting. So the only real investment is the hosting cost. Then you add paid plugins on top as needed, but to just get started, and there's tons of free themes, all of that kind of stuff. You could really get started with just paying for a domain and a web host.
And I'm just curious, could you do the web host monthly? Because I'm sure there's yearly plans, but could you do it monthly?
You can do it monthly. Yeah, it's going to
Okay.
be a little bit more expensive,
Yeah.
but, and, you know, with SiteGround, especially with affiliate, and they run sales, but in the first year is discounted for
Right.
the full year. I think,
Okay.
I'd have to look, but I think that, you know, the base, and you can even start with the smallest one. I'm up to the biggest because I also host for my clients.
Right.
But I think the smallest one, it starts at $10 a year and then goes to $20 a year
Oh.
renewal. So
Wow.
it's not super expensive. And again, everything monthly kind of came out to the same as a Squarespace. I think Squarespace was $20 a month.
About that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, you're not in more expensive and you have a bigger wealth of growth and expansion.
Yeah. Well, I was even thinking the person that wants to dabble and just kind of get it, you could dabble it for a month or two for both platforms and test drive the car before you buy the car.
Yeah. And that is why one thing I was always taught is buy your domain somewhere else. So it's registered elsewhere. So at your Namecheap, at your GoDaddy, registered, and host it elsewhere. So then those are two different things. So then the Namecheap's once a year, and this you could move it. So say SiteGround hiked their prices or something. I could move to Flywheel. I could move to, you know,
Right.
And it just kind of keeps, so it's not all the same. I had someone where I had to move them from Wix, and I didn't realize until I was in the process, it's over 7 days to move a domain. I thought it was like a DNS change, which is like 24 hours.
Yep.
I got the note that it would take anywhere from 5 to 7 days just to move it from Wix to Namecheap. And so that was something I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea. Like if you have it in its own domain, then you're free to roam, you know, again, not that you're really going to need to, but that freedom and that flexibility, I try and make sure, again, to empower your clients that they have choices, you know.
Right. So just to use a metaphor in case you just got lost, it's like you have your own license plate and you get to choose what car you want to put that license plate on.
Yes.
Like, we're geeking out. And yeah, you know what? I am about to move a site off of Wix into Kajabi. And that was my one unknown is I can't remember where the domain is, if it's on Wix or if it's a third party. I think it's a third party because I'm like, I have a plan. But Wix is a whole bowl of noodles. So I'm kind of like, I need to like figure out where this bowl of noodles is going to take me. So yes, both of us are moving people off of Wix.
Sorry, not sorry.
Okay. And so you have a top business strategy tip to share with the audience. So would you like to share that?
My top tip is I'm 1,000,000,000% on board that you need to have a website, but then you also need to have a plan. You can put up the most beautiful website ever, but if you don't have a plan of who's going to find it, and you know, there is the word out there, SEO, everything, but that is not the only strategy. And SEO is really tough. Google is a beast and you can't really hack that algorithm pretty quick. And so you need to have a plan to drive traffic. It's going to be engagement. It's going to be social. It's going to be paid ads if that's an avenue for you. You're going to have to just have a plan to get people to come to your site, because it is not if you build it, they will come situation.
Right. You know what? And when you mentioned Google and SEO, you reminded me of a question I was going to ask you. Did not plan for this question, so I don't know how you're going to answer it.
Okay.
I'm really curious. Are you a proponent of people's names for their domain or something else? Like I'm the Butterfly Guide. You are Caitline Harris, creative. So do you have a stance on that? I do. And I'm curious to know what yours is.
I mean, I guess it would depend on what your end goal is. As a coach, I might lean towards that you want it to be your name, but I know that that's not the route you've taken. So it is a similar idea. And then you could always maybe you do have your name as a domain that you own.
Yeah.
And so that's always your backup. Cause I have Caitline Harrison Creative as like my main domain, but I also do own CaitlineHarrison.com. And if you go to that, it's just going to route you to the other one. I just think that we are solopreneurs. And so we are ourselves. And so at the very least, you should have it. I choose branding to it, but I don't know if that's a end all be all. And for SEO, also, I had just heard this recently and I just keep thinking about how much I love it. Excuse me. SEO is great. And I set everybody up to have basic SEO structure. But if you're a small business, you don't necessarily need to be sinking thousands and thousands of dollars into SEO strategies unless you're really scaling your business, because you only need to reach the people, your ideal clients are not necessarily going to be the same as the people that are Googling, I can't even think, like, Coca-Cola, it's like,
right. So yeah, I love that. And really there's two schools of thought of the name and the not name. And I totally get the branding. And, I think back, I don't know what it was, 20 years ago when buying a domain was kind of a novelty. Maybe it was 30 years ago. I'm trying to remember my age and all this other stuff, and it really was not people's names at the time, right? It was whatever the description was. And now the trend definitely is people's names.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone through different names. And so I really didn't want to lock into that.
Right.
But B, some people's names are really hard to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because I've gone this in my head. And so I want to offer people, what are you thinking about? And I love Caitline's suggestion, have both. And I do have both, right? And I have a couple different versions of both as well. So I just bought last week with Caitline said, buy domains. I probably have 20, 30 domains, like Mentor with Kelly. How simple. mentorwithkelly.com.
Yeah,
that was available. But so Kelly Geisler Wilson or Kelly Geisler, maybe not as memorable. At the Butterfly Guide, I'm a transformational coach, right? And so really I take people from caterpillar to butterfly. And so really that translates in business as well, of the business doer to the business leader and leading your business to six figures. And so, yeah, if you have more of manifestation babe, right? So, I mean, people could remember that sometimes easier than some people's names. I do, there's a person that does Facebook ads. I'm like, what's her name again? Because I don't remember her website because it's based on her name. So that's the only kind of other tidbit I would offer when thinking about it. You might just want to be, the different person and maybe be a little bit more memorable.
And that is a great point, because people are not always going to remember that Caitline Harrison does design, and so if I was to search, and you see it, if you have your Google Analytics set up, or some of the extra tools, if people searched graphic design Raleigh, how far down the page would I show up?
Right.
Probably a lot farther than that I would like, but it's also not a big goal of mine at the moment. Right. But it's that idea of if someone is searching transformational coach, that's probably they're not going to be looking for your name.
Right.
And also, as you were talking, I was thinking about the trend towards having it be our names also has to do probably with the rise of social media, that everyone's a brand,
Yeah, good point. So maybe
it all matches.
Yeah, I'm going against the grain. And actually, I was thinking about renaming it. My husband's like, well, but if you Google it, you're made it on the Google top, list or whatever. And I was like, and then I came to the conclusion, I'm like, it's just not the time. There is no point in renaming it right now in my business. So I'm the Butterfly Guide. Yeah. And I just want to offer that it can be as unique as your brain. It's you get to decide, really, and then own it. Buy it, then own it, and then just own it.
And there's no right or wrong in this world. You know what I mean? In this world, meaning this world of being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, just try it. And also, you're going to have those. I'm sure this is part of your coaching as well. If I was to guess, you're going to have those things where it's well, should I be changing my name? Should I be redesigning my website? And those are good conversations to have, but they also are ways to stay away from the stuff that actually distract you. Yep. So, and I keep saying that I get on calls and I'm like, if you look at my website, it's got most of the right information, but what I'm going to offer you today, I just haven't put on the new site.
Oh yeah. I mean, the same thing. I'm like, do I have a clear call to action? I have a couple of them. I mean, that breaks the rule right there, but is it a priority? And yes, I would coach them what is your, 90-day priority? What's your 1, 2, or 3? I'm kind of a fan of 3, but knowing that, you might just hit 1, you might hit 2. And is that meeting your, really, because it's a little about staying focused, because we can easily distract ourselves to something that doesn't require all of us to show up or doesn't require us to stretch ourselves.
Yep. And so to circle it back, the website is a priority, but as a business owner, you also need to make sure you're not spending too much time in that world. And that's why either you do the quick DIY or you hire someone.
Yeah. So MVP, minimal viable product. That's a new acronym to teach everyone today.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So you said that you have more to share. Do you want to kind of let us know?
Yeah. So I just, it'll be linked, I'm assuming in the description, but I created a website checklist, and it is just the 10 things that, make sure I look at my headline here. The 10 key things your website needs to stand out from the crowd. And it's just kind of some of it's a lot of what I've already said, just kind of the things that I look at as a designer who also develops websites, and just things for you to start thinking about. And so you can grab that checklist. And also, I'm always up for, free consultation calls if you want to talk about your business. And if it's time or not, that the link to book with me is on my website. So
that's awesome. And yeah, Caitline and I are all about connections and getting to know people. We want to talk to the real person. And I know that I can say that about you because her and I met at a networking event where we value making connections with people.
Yep.
So yeah, please reach out to Caitline if you want a free consultation or to explore. Feel free to reach out to me too if you want some business consulting or to explore Kajabi. All of our information is down below. And I just want to also offer you, if you want continued support on your soulpreneur journey, really about doing business differently, about bringing that heart, soul, and energy alignment in your business, please subscribe to our New Paradigm Leadership Network so that you can be notified every time that we drop a new episode. Caitline, thank you so much. I love this.
I love it. It was so good. Hope we didn't get too geeky.
Take care, everyone.
All right. Bye.